Feed Pepe to the Legion.
All right. And we are... Yes, we're live. Okay. Good.
Feed Pepe to the Legion.
I've got audio. There we go. Okay. Good day, fellow geeks. On this week's Geeks of Azeroth, we talk about the loss of subscribers, and I think Blizzard announced something kind of special about World of Warcraft this week. And no more than that, because that's going to take up all the show, so stand by for Geeks of Azeroth.
By geeks.
About geeks.
For geeks. Welcome to Geeks of Azeroth!
Hello. Hello and welcome to the show. My name's Tarley, and with me I've got Britzza.
Hello.
How's it going, Britzza?
It's going very well, thank you. I think it's fair to say it's been a very exciting week. I can't believe, in a sense, how much has been sort of crammed into this week.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no kidding.
It's quite staggering just to think how the week started and how the week ended, and that we're now at the end of it. And look what's happened. I'm also pleased to announce that the camera should be working, so I'm in the screen, all pretty and stuff. I hope.
Oh, you're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, no, otherwise it's gone surprisingly well. I've actually got a sort of second wind in me for World of Warcraft. I mean, I was really enjoying it now that I've got it on my new PC, but the fact that, well, actually, I've really enjoyed getting back into the game. But I'll be honest, I've now lost complete interest in anything follower related. Because I know we're leaving them purely in Draenor, I think I might just have to start handing out some P45s and start sacking some people. letting them go, one by one. How about yourself?
It's been pretty good. I've had quite a busy week filled with work, and like I was just saying to you, I literally got off a plane an hour ago just so I could get back to the show. I flew across the country to get back to this show, people. I did.
Bless you.
But yeah, it's been a really busy week, but my interest in World of Warcraft has been completely revived, whatever the word I want to use there is. It's back. Ooh. But I have absolutely no interest in Warlords of Draenor content right now.
It's funny how one expansion kills the previous one.
Yes, absolutely, but more on that in a moment. First off, in news of the week, I'm not even going to play the sounder because we're not going to the other sections of the show. It's just all news. This whole episode is news. But before we talk about what was majorly announced, Blizzard's quarterly subscriptions for World of Warcraft came out, and they are down to 5.6 million subscribers.
Game over. Shut up shop. Nothing to see here.
5.6.
It's all over.
5.6. That's the lowest we have seen since 2006.
Yep, vanilla, people. Vanilla.
Now,
how do you feel about that, Sally?
It doesn't mean the game's dead, but it's kind of sad a little bit, you know. It's WoW, and it's sad.
Okay, well, let's look at it realistically, and we'll put the links to the articles in the notes, obviously, so you can follow along if you're listening at home, and hopefully not if you're driving. If you're driving, don't follow up this. But if you look at the graph, so it maps out the subscriptions and obviously see the rise of vanilla, the glory days of Burning Crusade and Wrath, and the slow sort of drop from Cata onwards, and we get to literally just at the end of Q4, probably 2014, just when WoD's been announced. You think about the difference between that and where we are now. It's a very small dip. It's that rise and that fall that we saw in Warlords of Draenor that really caused an issue. The fact that it went up to 10 mil, and then it's fallen back. I think in light of that, it's not so bad. But that's just one initial look at the statistics. So
yeah,
still,
it's definitely a low dip, but I don't think it's bad, especially with what was announced. I think I think we could go right back up to where Warlords was, if not higher. But I mean, that being said, it's still a low number, but overall, Activision Blizzard is actually making more money than they thought they would this year.
I think so much money.
I think it's safe to say that World of Warcraft is not their cash cow anymore, and they know that. And judging by what we're going to be talking about, it seems like they're not trying to appeal to like the new players anymore. That they want to just appeal to the long-term fans of this game, and their newbie players are for Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm and soon to be Overwatch. Which thank you, Blizzard, for that great troll earlier this week. You got me as well as all of my friends. If you guys didn't notice, on your Blizzard desktop launcher, the icon for Overwatch showed up, and I think everybody who saw that immediately had to click on it like, oh my god, what?
Yes.
Oh, it's not actually here.
It was surprising, actually. There was a lot of Blizzard's background stuff happening behind this week. Like Hearthstone had some announcements coming out. You saw that Overwatch desktop icon pop up, and it seemed like a really weird time to do it.
Yeah, new heroes announced for Overwatch, new maps and stuff. StarCraft getting updates. Diablo is still Diablo. I mean, Blizzard's definitely not taking a hit, especially because Destiny's technically their game. I mean, Activision, but Blizzard and Activision are the same thing now. So, Destiny's a cash cow for them for sure.
Destiny's a huge cash cow, and Blizzard in general is making buckets of money. I mean, it doesn't matter that the player base is, almost halved. The fact is that player base is paying for mounts, paying for WoW tokens, and that's an important thing to remember.
WoW token subscribers are not included in that list.
Are they not?
Nope. The people who purely play by WoW token instead of paying a subscription fee are not included in the amount of subscribers. Though I'm not exactly sure how many people.
That's really interesting, because that was a lot of confusion at the beginning of the week, where people were saying actually they are included, and some people saying, but what happened to WoW tokens? Were they successful or not? But if they're not included, that's filled me with a bit of hope, because there are a lot of people who are potentially subscribed. But I guess that's fair, because Blizzard wants to look at it from the point of view of players who are actually paying money, I guess, because obviously their shareholders aren't interested in people who are paying in Monopoly money. They're not going to get any of that lucky gold, are they? So I guess it's a good point actually to take those people out of the statistics. But Tarley, one thing I wanted to ask you was that if we think about how this fall has happened, and the fact we're down to 5.6, do you think there's a sort of a base level that WoW could just run at forever? Do you think, for me, I think it's probably about 2.5–3 million.
Oh yeah.
Where it could just cruise at that, and as long as it's not dipping into 125,000, as long as it's not starting to drop below WildStar or anything like that, I think they'll just keep it going.
I think if WoW even goes to 1 million, WildStar's just under 1 million, Star Wars is just over 1 million. I don't know where Elder Scrolls is, but all of these expansions are sustaining themselves, and Blizzard's still managing to make money currently off of WoW, and as long as they're doing that, as long as they're making money off of it, they'll support it. It's honestly how I feel about it. They may change the model of the game, they may make it more free to play if it got down to the lower numbers, but I don't see that happening for a long time, especially again with what we're about to talk about. So
it's interesting actually, because there was a lot of, if we think about this at the beginning of the week, this was announced Monday, wasn't it, or Tuesday?
Thursday.
Right. Was this the subscriber loss though?
Oh, the subscriber, yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning of the week, should we say? And obviously there were huge calls that WoW was going to have to move to free to play, or that people were saying this is just part of it. They've always been intending to go to free to play, and I think, especially the announcement afterwards, it just shows that Blizzard just isn't interested in that at all. Yeah. They're not really going to change the model. I think all that we've seen change is the number of subscribers. And like you say, I think it's really interesting that we saw a jump of 3 million when Warlords was released. And that Warlords was a dodgy expansion. You know, it's really the Marmite expansion. Some people liked bits of it, but a lot of people didn't like bits of it. So it makes me wonder, looking at this new expansion, I totally agree with you. I think if any expansion is going to put us back on track, I don't think it will get there in this expansion, but if any expansion is going to put us back on track to get above that 10 mil and maybe, just maybe, start seeing us head back towards that 12 mil, this is it.
Oh, yeah. I think Blizzard has now set themselves a pace that they're going to have to keep with now, with Legion being announced like this. So, well, there, I said it! With it being announced like this so early on, I think they're going to have to keep this pace. And if they do and keep making good content, you know, let's just forget Warlords ever happened. I think they could go right back up and do really well for the foreseeable future. Do that additional 10 years like they were talking about.
And I guess one thing that stood up in my mind, I read this in a forum post, is remember, if WoW dies, Hearthstone runs out of card ideas. Effectively. So, and Hearthstone makes a lot more money than World of Warcraft does. So it's worth keeping WoW. It's worth keeping WoW going just to keep Hearthstone ideas coming in. I mean, they've got a huge backlog. They could obviously catch up to where WoW is now, but still, huge money behind the Warcraft franchise in general. And I don't think that's going anywhere soon, except into Blizzard's pockets, where it belongs. But yeah, so sad start to the week.
But the end of the week.
Oh my god, I could honestly think people could hear 4.5 million people trying to resub.
I know. I mean, I'm interested to see how many people have resubbed now, just from the announcement, let alone how many will sub when it comes out. So, can we move on? Can we move on?
Of course we can. I know you want to.
All right, everybody, take a look at your screen for those who are going to be watching the video, because here it is. It's World of Warcraft Legion.
Rehash.
That's right. It's the new expansion is called Legion. It's a Burning Legion expansion. It looks incredible. Oh my god, we're gonna spend the next like 45 minutes talking about it. Blast you, Zool, for not being here for it.
Oh, bless Zool. But we'll make up for him with all our wild speculation and fangasming.
So, yep, Legion. It's a thing.
It's a thing, and I guess that's the first thing. Burning Legion expansion. A lot of people call it. Thought.
Oh, hold on, Britzza. It seems like we are losing you. Oh no, Britzza. Oh no, Britzza. Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to be experiencing technical difficulties. We will return as soon as Britzza We'll be back momentarily. Stand by. Please stand by. Please stand by. Please stand by. Stand by. Stand by. Continue to stand by. Okay, we will figure this. Hello? Oh, he is back. We will re-add him to the call. Oh, he's adding me to the call. Welcome back.
No, a thing.
And we can continue the show.
We can. Slight technical difficulty.
Was that
apologies.
Caused by your webcam again?
I have no idea. It didn't actually do the same thing this time, so it just kind of my computer just decided just to troll me and restart, which is always good. Always a good feeling.
All right. Well,
as you were saying.
As I was saying, I don't even remember what I'm saying. Legion is back. It's I think it surprised a lot of people, to be honest. Or the Legion is back. I think this expansion caught a lot of people by surprise because everybody was expecting South Seas at this point, yes. Right? And which we're getting. It's definitely in the South Seas, but the Burning Legion invasion now, like we're just coming back from the Dark Portal, and here's We never get a break.
We never get a break from the Legion. That's fair to say, but I guess we needed to get to what Rathian was going on about, didn't we? We needed to close that one, I guess. Maybe, but I see what you mean. There were some really good ideas. I mean, I don't know how we want to order this. Do we want to talk about just the initial reaction and then get into the deeper stuff?
Yeah, well, just like your initial reaction. I mean, I was driving my work vehicle to a job, and I saw a tweet like announcing World of Warcraft Legion. I pulled over my work vehicle to watch the announcement in my van, and it was just
Illidan! Ah!
Yep. So I was freaking out, and then terribly driving while reading like all of the features and all of this stuff, and yeah, I was so ecstatic.
It was, I guess, talking about the trailer. It was absolutely amazing because never has, I think, a trailer shown so little but elicited such a huge response. I mean, let's be honest, we were all sitting there going, oh, Gul'dan, what's he doing now? Okay, he's mumbling around in the dark. Okay, this is going to be an interesting one. Blah! And then you see that silhouette and those tattoos, and you just, it was insane. Twitter just blew up. Yeah. Absolutely blew up. Yep. And you knew that. I think that was it. I think the expansion was sold. It sounds such a joke to say it, like I'm just making it up, but honestly, I think the expansion was sold at that point. Yep. Pretty much 90%.
Rehash.
Rehash, yes, you know, and then we'll be taking on Bulbon next one, and then Deathwing's younger sister for the one after that. So, but
Sarah.
Yeah, why not? Why not? But sorry, Tarley, go on.
I mean, we could just jump in and read like the main features, and then we can go into each one of them in more detail. So this expansion, the main features are we've got the new hero class, the Demon Hunter. We have the new continent of the Broken Isles. We have artifact weapons, class order halls, adventure to level 110. I was not expecting that at all. New dungeons and raids, of course. There's a new honor system. A little bit excited for that. Level 100 character boost. Saw that coming. New world bosses, improved transmog system allowing you to collect item appearances and save your favorite outfits without sacrificing precious bag space like Diablo. And improved support for in-game communities. Create social circles with friends that have shared interests and form the perfect group to play your way. And there's I already said class order halls. Yes, okay. So, yeah. Let's dive into this a bit. Britzza, do you want to talk about the Demon Hunter a little bit?
What can't you say about the Demon Hunter?
It looks
it's amazing. It's amazing. And I think, just to quickly sum it up, it's a class people have wanted to play since Warcraft 3 when we were playing as Illidan. It's an absolutely amazing class. And I think the way they're approaching it, like especially when you think about like their introduction, they are the second hero class of the game.
Yes.
So they're going to have an introduction just like Death Knights, where you're going to be part of Illidan's Illidari, and you're sent on a quest, and that quest happens 10 years before the current events. So, the timeline's messed up.
So this class gets its own starting zone, basically.
It gets its own starting zone. And effectively its own class introduction.
Yep.
I don't know, they haven't really talked much about like the levels.
Actually, in an interview, they want it to be over 90. So I'm going to guess about like probably 96 or 97. Maybe 95, and then you'll just level to 100 in the starting zone, and then boom, you're starting the new expansion. Because anything else really makes no sense.
Yeah,
like a Demon Hunter running through all that old content, it just, lore-wise, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, the thing is as well, I was thinking about this, because if you think about the Death Knights, for example, their level doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It's true, having to go through Burning Crusade.
Exactly, which doesn't they don't go in straight into the current content, and that's always kind of thrown me off. And I thought, well, what happens if they end up in Warlords? I mean, that's going to be awful. Just to send all the new Demon Hunters to Draenor. But at the same time, I think what you've got is a good idea. If you start like 96, 4 levels isn't much. You'll enjoy the story. You're with Illidan, which is amazing. Apparently, you're sent on a suicide mission.
And I think it'll be incentive for people not to just boost one either, because I think doing the introductory class and learning how to actually play the Demon Hunter would be good instead of just boost. Oh, I'm 100. Let's quest. So.
I don't intend to learn the class at all. No, it's all about you double jump, and that's all you need to do.
The class can double jump. I do find it interesting that they can only be elves. That's obviously it fits with the lore.
Yeah, that's what they said in the Q&A. But here's the question: Night Elf or Blood Elf? Which one looks better?
It's a good thing Zool's not here to hear this, but definitely Night Elf. I've decided to just stick with Alliance from here on out. Hence the blue backdrop behind me today, celebrating Alliance pride.
To be honest, this is an interesting one because I think the Night Elf ones, obviously there's that nostalgia. They actually look like Illidan.
Yeah.
Illidan's obviously Night Elf. But I think if I roll one, I might roll a Blood Elf one.
Ooh.
But I don't know why. I just like the mask thing they've got on. They don't have the glowy eyes. I mean, that kind of sucks. But I don't know. Something about that just really catches my attention. But like you said, I think there's going to be a huge amount of Night Elves going around.
Another interesting thing about the class is there's only 2 specs. Yes. And that kind of surprised a lot of people. I think a lot of people were expecting a ranged spec because a lot of people had the idea of Shadow Hunter or some kind of Demon Hunter or something like that was going to be coming up. But so we hear the word Hunter and there's no ranged spec. It's a tanking spec and a dual wield tanking spec, by the way. Just like old Frost DKs and Havoc, the DPS spec. And the Havoc DPS, I don't know if they're actually the same thing for Vengeance tanks, but Havoc DPS are getting their own new weapon type, Glaives. They're a specific set of weapons just for Demon Hunters. And they come in sets of 2. You don't have to get individual ones. They come in 2s every time they drop, which is awesome.
Get one, and then you're like, oh.
And that's all you can wield is glaives. They said maybe in the future that they'll be able to use daggers or something, but because of artifact weapons, they're just gonna have glaives. So
makes sense, doesn't it? I guess lore-wise.
I don't know about the Vengeance tanks, but
the way they looked, because you saw the flashy, not the CGI trailer, the other trailers,
right?
And or for the Demon Hunters themselves, sort of introduction, and their one, when it sort of closed in on the tank spec, it kind of slashed out with his hands. So I think it's an unarmed potentially. Yeah,
or maybe fist weapons. But when you see the picture, and here I'll put this up on the screen, both specs have a metamorphosis form, like Demonology Warlocks. And so this is what that looks like for the Vengeance tank, and they just have these claws when they morph.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's the thing. It's the thing in. Bit of Fantastic Four connection there.
Oh yeah. Just in time for that horrendous movie, right?
But I guess the interesting thing, like you say, is that there's only 2 specs, so naturally, all Demon Hunters are going to have access to both specs at any one time. There's not going to be a spec that's locked out. So, do you think that there's going to be a bigger pressure on Demon Hunter players to know both DPS and tank as well as each other? Because they both have access to it. It's not if you've got a Demon Hunter in your group and you're sitting there saying, we haven't got a tank, we need to find a tank, a lot of people are going to say, well, there's a Demon Hunter, so he can tank, so he better step up.
Well, I mean, the same could go with a lot of hybrid classes like DKs for the same thing. And I think a lot of pressure is just going to go on them because they're another hero class. And just like DKs when they first came out, it's like, well, they're starting at a higher level and they're just going to be noobs. Nobody wants this Demon Hunter because they have no idea how to play the game. So
with all their millions of different versions of Illidan's name.
It really makes me wonder if they're going to do the same thing they did with Death Knights, where they you have to have a character over this level to play it, but they eradicated that with the Death Knights. So I don't know. It'd be interesting.
I wonder actually if Illidan is going to be a playable character name.
I highly doubt it.
I highly doubt it.
Since Illidan is like the Arthas of the starting zone.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But
Hi, Illidan. I'm Illidan. You're not prepared.
how do you think, though? I guess the thing with Illidan is he's this hero that's kind of sitting on the fence between good and bad. And Chris Metzger's always said that he loves a good redemption story.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see it with Garrosh, unfortunately, but never mind. But we are looking to see that with Illidan. So how do you think they're going to sort of portray him, I guess, over this expansion, or perhaps particularly with this starting zone? Because obviously when you're playing Death Knights, the Lich King's just, he's an arsehole. Let's be honest. He's not the best guy to work with. He's not the best employer. But Illidan, you think, he's a bit power crazy, but you probably want to sell him in a good way.
Yeah.
I guess if he's going to be our best friend. I don't know, but again, I'm just sort of voicing all my excitement. But how do you think Illidan's going to be sort of shown in this expansion?
It's really hard to say if he even will be in the current part, because from all we know, Illidan's only going to show up in the introductory for the Demon Hunters. That's all they've really talked about Illidan.
They have mentioned in the QA that he's going to be part of the lifetime of this expansion, so he's not going to get killed off halfway or anything like that, or disappear. He will be there to some extent at the end, but obviously, like you say, what that means could be anyone's guess. I mean, shall we move to artifact?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Yes. Let's move on to artifact weapons.
The big contention of the expansion.
This is both like exciting me and wonder. Well, actually, before that, let's just talk about the Broken Isles a little bit.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Let's see if I can pull up the map. Where is the map? We'll find the map here in a moment.
Dust them up. Dust them up. That was like a Snow White kick. Keep a second.
All right. Here, I'll pull it up on the screen. Here are the Broken Isles. Now, there's a little bit of concern for the fact that there's only 6 zones. Everybody was really hoping for 8, like Wrath of the Lich King, because it provided a lot of variety. But I'm excited. It looks to be the same size, roughly, as Draenor and Pandaria and every other zone, continent. But
yeah, I don't think size-wise we'll have an issue. I mean, let's be honest. How many of us have seen every single zone? And if you think about it as well, with Draenor, you had one less because you were locked out of the other factions.
Right. Yeah.
So I think we literally got the same size as Draenor on this one.
Yep. And it looks awesome. The Broken Shore, which the Broken Shore is going to be an event in itself before the whole thing launches. That's where we're going to go into the Tomb of Sargeras and deal with Gul'dan a little bit before we kill him in the raid later on.
Yep.
And we get to do that all before the expansion launches. Like, actually get to go to this part of the Broken Isles before the expansion launches, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Then, we'll go to Stormheim, High Mountain, Valshara, Sumara, and Azruna. We won't go into detail of each zone, or this would be like a 3-hour show. Definitely check out the videos that will be in the description in the show notes. They'll talk about each one of those. But the biggest thing when I saw the map, and then they confirmed it later, I saw Dalaran. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? And Dalaran is the capital. Again.
Yeah. Yes, I'm happy for this, but I'm not happy with who's leading Dalaran.
Khadgar.
I don't want another Khadgar expansion. Where's Jaina?
Oh, she's angry.
She's
mad.
pissed. She's pissed. Oh, well, okay. But if it's all right, we'll get onto Jaina in a second, because I've got a theory about Jaina. But interestingly, you say about Dalaran being the capital, and that's great because we're getting what we really wanted with Warlords.
A hub.
And I think me and Zul called it a couple of episodes when we said we wanted a flying hub. Admittedly, we wanted airships, but airships are a bit small. But we're getting our flying base again, which is going to be absolutely fantastic, and especially if it moves slightly. But the other thing, did you notice in a previous version of the map that Ebon Hold made an appearance?
Wait, what?
Apparently, there was a rumor, or I don't know if it was a fan-made map. Anyone listening maybe might be able to clarify, Twitter if you're listening to the recording later on. But just where the Broken Shore is, and east of Saramar, there was a picture, like a little Ebon Hold. And there's a rumour that the Ebon Hold is going there as well. I had no idea where that came from, but
Maybe that'll be the Death Knight's class hall.
maybe I think it would have to be, wouldn't it? But how cool is that? You're effectively you're Evan Hold, flying above, next to Dalaran, playing chicken.
That means we wouldn't have to go so far to Runeforge our new weapons.
Exactly, that makes sense. So fingers crossed that makes an appearance, because I'm leveling my Death Knight at the moment. But sorry, going back to Dalaran, and how do you feel about Dalaran coming back?
Dalaran's my favorite hub from all of the game's lore, so I'm very excited to have Dalaran back. Honestly, I loved that city. But
are you happy that it's brought Violet Hold with it?
Yes, yes,
Good.
That was a good dungeon as well.
It was a good dungeon. I don't know where all this hate for Violet Hold has come from. I thought it was actually quite good.
Yeah. I have not seen very much hate about this expansion, but the hate I've seen is revolved around the weapons and Dalaran. So it's good to get the hate out of the way. So, but I don't know. Apparently Dalaran will be different. Obviously it'll be upgraded graphically, I'm sure, and there'll be changes. Khadgar's probably done a bit of sweeping and rearranging, and
Jaina just left the place a mess.
Absolutely.
Ever since breaking up with Arthur's.
And they said it's going to still be up in Northrend as well. That would be a bit confusing if it wasn't.
All those level 70 players flying off and just disappearing off a cliff or something.
Yeah, people who just logged off on their alts in Dalaran, they log back into it, they just fall through, fall to the ground. Crystal Song Forest.
That would be funny. But I guess as well, sorry, just quickly, 2 minutes, on the Jaina situation, that's annoyed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what you thought Jaina was doing this expansion, because I honestly believe she's going to form part of this expansion.
I think either later on this one or into the next one, we're going to see her become a villain. That's what I think. I don't think she'll be a villain we kill. I think she's a villain we have to stop, because she's going to be all and having blue dragon babies and sending them after everybody. It's going to be weird.
Oh, bless. No, I think that's exactly it. I think a lot of people are worried that Jaina's been written out of the story, and I'd be keen to point out that's not what they've said. They've said that she's elsewhere, and that tends to be the response they gave. Yeah, it was really naff. I personally think they shouldn't have mentioned it.
Right.
But they had to justify where Khadgar had come from, and obviously people would ask, where was Jaina? But I think because of the fact that Khadgar's brought the Horde and the Alliance together sort of again in this very loose truce around the Kirin Tor, I think it's, saying that it's not really a truce, because we need the classes to step up and unite.
They actually said something in the interview about the Horde and Alliance, but we'll get into that later on.
Oh, right, in which case I'll save it. But I think Jaina is going to play a huge part. So she hasn't gone she has gone somewhere, but she hasn't left the Warcraft universe. Right. I mean, how could you? She's been
a center character for a while. She wasn't in Warlords, but for a lot of Mists of Pandaria and in the books and stuff, she was a very focused character. So I think they want to give her a break, and also they're giving Orcs a break. I think they're just trying to give other characters limelight. I think I'm going to predict that we're going to see characters die this expansion. Some main characters that have been with us for a long time. I think
it's about time.
I mean, moving into the artifact weapon a little bit, with one of them being the Doomhammer, I think we're going to lose Thrall, everybody. I think Green Jesus is going to have his moment.
Is this because, is it a lot of people based on the fact that when they announce artifact weapons, it's like we're going to take weapons from heroes gone and lost to us, and so there's a theory that Thrall's going to die, and High Lord Tyrion Fordring's going to have to die as well, because obviously he's not going to let go of Ashbringer.
Right.
Have to bonk him on the head with a rock or something like that and run off into the darkness. But yeah, no, that's apparently going to happen. But I think probably it's about time.
Yeah.
Thrall's had a good innings.
Yeah, he's quite an overdone character, and I think Metzen's probably a little bit tired of doing his voice, and Metzen's got other things to do with Overwatch and producing movies and all that stuff, so he's probably getting a bit busy.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but I guess going into the
prediction for me.
it's bound to happen. But going into the artifact weapons themselves.
Well, should we just say what they are?
Yeah, go through it. Yeah.
So basically, this expansion, and it's the reason why. I mean, it's causing a lot of controversy, but we're basically going to be getting not just class specific, specialization specific,
spec-specific,
spec-specific weapons that are called what are they called? Artifact weapons. Now these are weapons based on lore in the game. Some of them we've heard of, some of them we haven't. But you know, the big like Retribution Paladin weapon is obviously going to be the Ashbringer.
Yarr.
Now, this system, there's so much to this system, which we're going to go over here, but I just wanted to bring up why it's causing so much controversy, is because this is the only weapon you will get in the expansion. There's no weapon drops from any of the raids, any of the bosses. You get this right away when you start questing. You get the, like, start of it, and you're upgrading it throughout the entire expansion.
Yeah.
I both like the idea, and at the same time, I don't know how I feel about the idea. I mean, it could be bad, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think it's a really different flavour because, like you say, it's effectively an heirloom. At least it's got an heirloom mentality to it. You literally do not need to change your weapon. You will have this weapon going into.
So I lost you, Britzza, and your face literally paused at the best moment. It's kind of hilarious. We'll get him back here. So yeah, the controversy is coming from the fact that Britzza. Just going to have the Skype call stop calling until we get him back. So yeah, the controversy is coming from it's like an heirloom, and people are thinking, well, there's no progression with weapons, then how am I gonna feel special? But what's really cool about these weapons is they have talent trees. Now I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of what that looks like. I'm not seeing it anywhere on the internet here, which is weird. Oh, here we go. So I'm just gonna pull this up on the screen real quick. This is what the Ashbringer's talent tree looks like. So as you're leveling, not just through the not just leveling, but then as you're doing stuff within the expansion at 110, you're getting new abilities. You're unlocking through this talent tree, and this unlocks new abilities for your class. And welcome back, Britzza.
The Burning Legion is kicking the crud out of me at the moment.
Your face literally got frozen at the most hilarious moment. You'll have to go back and watch the video because it was absolutely hysterical. Now,
I'm glad.
So I was just in the middle of talking, showing off this beautiful picture of the progression system for the artifact weapons, the talent trees. So these will, not just when you're leveling through the game, but as you're completing raids, getting achievements, doing, I'm assuming quest lines, doing PvP, whatever it is, you're going to be progressing through your weapon. And you'll get new abilities for your class. And as you can see right here, like Echo of the High Lord, when you use Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm, Ashbringer will mimic that action after 2 seconds. So that's pretty cool. You can have your sword mimic the action of your character. And I can pull another one up here on the screen, just to show you the Death Knight rune blades. These are forged from the shards of Frostmourne, which I'll pull up right here.
A lot of people have commented on, actually, wondering like, how did no one pick these up before?
Exactly, yes. But as you can see, the talent tree is like woven around the weapon. It's going to be different for each class, and each spec has a different weapon. Just to show you a little bit more, then once you complete the base weapon, once you've completed that, you move on to upgrading the look. By doing different achievements, different PvP stuff, you can unlock different Ashbringers, and everybody kind of cheered and applauded, screaming when they saw a flaming Ashbringer.
I guess I guess the thing is that Ashbringer is just such an iconic weapon, and I don't. The thing with the actual artifacts that I'm struggling to talk about, but going back to what you were saying about having this weapon from moment one and then going through it, the implication is that at some point we're going to have to let go of Ashbringer, or we're going to have something better.
Right. What is going to be, like when we move to the next expansion, what's going to be our incentive to say, okay, bye with this weapon?
Yeah, exactly. What is better than Ashbringer? What is, when you're getting these artifact weapons and you're, getting the spirit of Yulon and putting it into your staff, what's more powerful or more iconic for like your class than doing that?
Right.
So my query is, is this a short-term win but a long-term loss by having these weapons here? I think that's what people are scared of.
And I think that's just going to be one of the things that we're going to have to wait and see. And that is one of the things that make me nervous about the idea. But for now, I think it sounds pretty awesome. Especially because, and we'll also get into class halls in a moment, but the Blizzard is very much emphasizing your class. That your class is important. They want class individuality. Is that a word? Mm-hmm. Your class identity. That's something they really want to focus on, and this weapon's really going to help with that. I mean, with there being 36 different weapons, because there's 36 different specs, it's really going to make you feel unique with what weapon you have, especially once you get into the different color customizations of that weapon. And just the fact that there's different quests to go get that weapon, like the old school class quests. I think that's really cool. Like the Death Knights having to go to Icecrown Citadel to find the shards of Frostmourne for the Frost DK weapons.
And I guess the thing on that one, are you happy with the fact that effectively it means Frost DKs now have to dual wield?
Oh yeah. I think that's the more fun way to play Frost DK anyway. Personally.
Yeah. On another note, how do you feel about the fact... Well, I guess for you it's slightly different. You're big on PvP, but... How do you feel about the fact that... How do you think some people are going to respond to the fact that some of these skins are PvP exclusive?
Some people might complain about it, but in the end, if they want it, they can get it. And we'll get into the PvP changes in a moment, but I think it's a really cool way that they're having you get it. They're not making it completely inaccessible to people who don't do rated PvP. You can still get it just from doing... non-rated PvP as well, but I mean, if there's going to be ones that are exclusive to rating, then there should be ones that are exclusive to PvP. It gives the PvPers incentive to make their weapon look unique to people who don't.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think as well PvP has needed something sort of an exclusive look for quite a while. I understand that the armor itself and the tiers have been sort of unique, obviously, and that's always been around since vanilla for PvP. But I think you need a little bit more recognition in the PvP area, particularly when it comes to what is effectively a transmog option for your heirloom weapon. I keep calling it an heirloom weapon, but your artifact. So yeah, no, I think it's a really good thing, and it goes to show, it's I think the right sort of incentive to bring people to PvP. Warlords never really got it right, because the incentive was, come to Ashran. There's so much here to do, and you turned up at Ashran, got the crud kicked out of you by level 700s or 670 people, and you just had a terrible time, and that was it. Their only invitation was Ashran's the place to be. It's the capital. But this has now got the right incentive. It's if you want the artifacts, and I guess touching on PvP now, if you want those unique rewards like the profile banner, or they're not profile banners, but the things that go on your characters to represent your prestige levels and things like that. If you want that recognition and people to actually go wow, like they used to in vanilla when you had a legendary or really cool epic, then you're going to have to grind out in that particular area and go into PvP or do some more PvE or do whatever. So yeah, I'm really liking the way that they're starting to place these player rewards, and they're just having the right attitude about it now.
Yep.
Because like you say, they're not here so that everyone gets every single option for Ashbringer. it's giving everyone an opportunity to feel special.
And this goes on to the point that I really think Blizzard has sat down and listened to what their community has wanted, because from almost every point, every new addition to the game is something that people have been asking for a long time.
Yep, no, I totally agree, 100%.
Yep. Yeah, which is why I'm so excited for this expansion, and I think we should move on now. Just continuing with class identity, Blizzard is now, they're kind of taking the base idea of garrisons, just having followers and having like your own kind of area, and they are evolving that greatly to the class orders. Now, and this is where they said that the Alliance and Horde are now at each other's throats. They're not working together at all in this expansion, which is good, finally.
Yeah, first time in like vanilla or ever, probably.
So instead of banding together with the enemy, classes are going to be burning together to fight the Banding Legion. Classes are going to be banding together to fight the Burning Legion, which is
Yep, sounds about right. But yeah, that's the thing. It's about time the classes did that. To be honest, it really is about time, and I think it's having the way they explained it was actually really good. The way, like, when you were in Warlords, you were trying to get an army together, and you were trying to just get anyone on your team, but now, you know, that's not the right approach, because in their own words, you can't beat the Legion with numbers, you have to beat them with skills.
Yep.
And whose skills are you going to trust more than people who are like you, your own class, and your own, you know, your own allies in that respect. So I think it's a really clever way of actually reapproaching garrisons and making it just seem better. And again,
the way they're doing this, they're not going to crash when everybody in the server is going to them, because not everybody in the server is going to be going to them.
Exactly. It's going to just spread out a little bit more, and you know, that might be a different thing, because you know, some people do enjoy having their friends like in the garrison, but like you say, it's a small loss for effectively giving classes their own unique look again.
Well, and these aren't going to be like a hub where you are all the time, which I think is great. So you are basically the leader of your class order. So if you're a priest, you're going to be banding together all the priests in Azeroth to make your class order. If you're a paladin, you're going to be meeting up under Light's Hope Chapel. Or I wonder if you're going to be doing that as a Horde paladin, because they haven't said anything about that. They just said paladins get Light's Hope Chapel.
I think it'd be both, because Light's Hope Chapel was both Horde and Alliance anyways for the Argent Dawn.
Right, so I guess that makes sense, yeah. I'm assuming they're going to be instanced, but this is where you're going to meet up with the best of the best of those classes, and you're not going to get just random followers like you said, Britzza. You're going to get like big known characters to be doing stuff for you. And so it is a very heavy focus on class identity. Each one will feel different. Each one's going to be in a place that feels like your class should be. Only members of your class can go there, like the Death Knight starting area, for example. And yes, after you find the starting artifact for your weapon, that's when you get to go to your order hall. You get to establish it. Shamans, they're in a hollowed out cave overlooking the Maelstrom, which is really awesome.
Yeah, again, it's using those old iconic, that nostalgia. Like you say, they're just giving people what they played.
Warlocks get their own Legion portal world. Like, that's awesome. That's very Warlockish.
You can't get more Warlocky than having your own fiery demon world.
Yep, and your order hall is where you'll go. You'll customize and upgrade your artifact weapon from there. You start special quests and missions from there, but again, it's not going to be where you're hanging out. There's going to be nothing to do with professions there. Nothing, you know, no actual central quest hub, no Hearthstone to the area. Well, there might be, but yeah, that's just not going to be your central location. So, yep, you'll have a small elite group. They said think a Knights of the Round Table type of a thing. You'll get these champions like Lady Leidrin. Yep. So you'll be doing missions with them, but they're not going to just be missions that you don't care about. They're going to be missions that involve you. Like you send someone out to find an entrance of a cave, then they found it, you go to that cave.
Exactly. They are no longer having more interesting quests than we are.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And you'll be earning rewards that you actually care about now, instead of trashing all of them.
Yep. That's I think going back to that sort of cave example that they gave, I'm just so glad that it's going to be the case that you will send the followers out, and obviously they'll get their own little rewards and they'll level up and whatnot. But the point is, you're only going to get the rewards if you work for it, and in that sense, WoW's heading a little bit more towards a hardcore, mindset, which is you've got to put in the time.
And we're definitely seeing that with PvP as well.
Exactly, and I'm one of the most casual players probably around. So if I can say it's a good thing, anyone can. Unfortunately, it means some people are not going to have enough time to get the real benefits out of WoW, but that's in some ways good.
That's how it is.
That's how it is. Yeah. Exactly. You can't complete most games.
And over the years, they've implemented so many systems to have for the casual player. It's about time they start focusing on what the not casual player can do.
Exactly.
So.
Good old artifacts.
Yep.
Love them.
Anything else on those before we move on?
Only that I think there's some really good story behind them. Like how the Fire Mages actually get Kalthas's weapon.
Yep.
And I just think it's the right move, because I remember when I said a couple of shows ago, probably even longer than that they can call your character commander, but the point is you look at what your hero has done. Your hero has done more in the lore of the story than anyone else. Yeah. Name any other 5 characters and your character has done more amazing things than them combined.
Yep.
And so it's about time we started feeling a little bit more legendary. Now, I get people are going to say, if you're handing out doom hammers to everyone and things like that, then we're not going to feel as epic. And I just say, no, ignore that, because at the end of the day, WoW is one of those games where you have to have a level of, suspension of disbelief. Because, of course, the WoW story doesn't account for the fact there's at least 5.6 million people still running around Draenor. We would have completely destroyed the Iron Horde in 5 minutes.
Right.
If we had 5.5 million paladins running around, we would have nuked them. But the point is, the game just pretends. The game always pretends like you are the only hero. And that's in that sense, the game is only ever going to pretend that you're the only one with Ashbringer, Doomhammer, whatever.
So we have to play pretend, everybody. Just a little bit.
You have to play pretend. It's your story. Just enjoy it. It's a game, and that's it. It's a game, and they're just giving you some really cool stuff to play with in your own game, and that's brilliant.
Yep. So moving on. Tom Shilton, or I can't remember if it was Tom Shilton or Ian Hazacostas who actually said this. Actually, I think it was Ian Hazacostas. Got up and they brought up, Dungeons and Raids. They just put that up on the screen. And he starts off by saying, "We have done Dungeons a great disservice over the last couple of expansions." And I started applauding. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. They have said that dungeons are essential to the MMO experience. Grouping up with 5 people, going off to complete a challenge that's actually challenging, and get you a reward. The team at Blizzard wants to make sure that there are more dungeons, more varied challenges, and more replayability, and more reason to keep doing dungeons throughout the expansion. This is great, because I personally love dungeons. And as good as the dungeons were in Warlords, they were great. You can't deny the dungeons were really well done. But after the first month of Warlords, did we have any reason to really go back to them? Ever?
No, that's it, and he summed it up perfectly. That it was effectively a stepping stone onto raid progression. That's all it was, and they barely made them more relevant for heroic level when they had them as part of the legendary quest.
Yeah,
there is, after you get past that phase, there is literally no reason to do dungeons ever. Once you get past that eye level 630, there's no reason to do them, and especially considering the fact that you've done that story, you've done that lore, we've killed those warlords. So I think it was a huge disservice. It wasn't relevant content for more than your first playthrough, and then you did heroic, and then that was it. So some exciting stuff. But I'm like you say, I'm glad they admitted it. Wish they'd admitted a little bit more, but no. I'll take dungeons.
I'll just read the list of the ones they've announced so far. We have Halls of Valor, Black Rook Hold, Vault of the Warden, Eye of Ashara. There it is, guys. There's Eye of Ashara. Darkheart Thicket.
It's a dungeon.
Darkheart Thicket, Naltharian's Lair. Ooh. Helheim, Samara City. Violet Hold. And
Yay.
yeah. So those are the dungeons so far. Now, the fact that they said that they want more of them than previous expansions means that I bet we're going to be getting dungeons and patches. I think that's safe to assume.
Yeah. And it would make sense as well, because if you think about it, the comments about Jaina and some of the mystery behind Illidan shows that they're not willing to reveal what will potentially be in the content of 7.1 and 7.2. And if they're being very secretive, they wouldn't show you the dungeons that are involved. I think these are going to be part of progression through the different zones. But like you say, when we get into the actual end game content, in inverted commas, it'll be a host of other dungeons, and that's brilliant.
Yep. Because I don't think this is all the launch dungeons. It might be, but I think there's going to be more with launch too. But maybe, I don't know. But we already know what the raids are. And they liked the raid structure of Warlords, and granted, from what I've heard from people who have raided this expansion, it's been some of the best raiding the game's seen. So good. It's a good thing they're keeping the structure the same. So we
House Coast is doing a good job.
Yep.
Balancing it.
So they're starting off with the Emerald Nightmare. We're finally going into the Emerald Dream, everybody. Finally, and it's a raid. It's a 7-boss raid. It's going to be glorious, I think. We get to seek out the old roots of corruption, seek out Cenarius, and confront Xavius himself at the heart of the nightmare. That is going to be the first raid. And then the second raid, a 10-boss raid. So 17 bosses total in the first raid tier. That's a lot of bosses. Is going to be Samara Palace. This is going to be where we eventually face off with Gul'dan himself, and this is not going to be an orky, spiky raid like we've seen every other raid previously. This is going to be a beautiful city. I'm trying to find actually the concept art for it right now.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It looks absolutely gorgeous if I can find it. Yep, this is it. I'll pull this up on the screen for you guys here. This is the final raid of the first patch. See, nothing orcish about it at all. It's Night Elvish, actually. So.
And it makes sense, because Gul'dan is only sort of an ambassador to the Legion. They, this was here before him, effectively. So it makes sense that we're not, we're stepping away from the orc stuff. We're stepping away, in a sense, we're stepping away from the sort of the old Burning Legion look that we got in Hellfire. It's not going to be well, there shouldn't hopefully be too much Hellfire for
there
the
will
first
be
patch.
at the Tomb of Sargeras, but
nothing else. It looks amazing, and I think people are really keen to, looking back at the Well of Eternity content from Caverns of Time. You think about sort of the High Elves and Queen Ashara and sort of that culture. It'd be really good to go back to that and actually see it, especially considering the fact that we're also, other zones are showing what is effectively new versions of the elves. I think it's new versions of High Elves or Night Elves or elves in general, and so it'd be interesting to see how their culture starts to fit into it. Quite literally is going to be nothing we've ever really seen before, especially when you think of like the Vicryll. Sorry, I'm not pronouncing that right, but you know what I mean.
They're going to be huge part of
their
it.
culture is going to be amazing to watch, and
they're not they're not the corrupted ones either from Northrend. They're like pure, like the gods type, like golden Vicryll.
Yeah,
like Norse
like
gods.
Kale.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, like Kale.
But yeah, you're right. It's going back to the raid. It's just something really nice and different, and I think people are fed up. We think about the last two content. It's been so orc heavy. We've done Orgrimmar, we've done Hellfire. It's like let's get away from the savage stuff. Let's have a bit of class.
Yeah, and so focusing on Elvish lore, I don't know. I'm excited just for that alone. So moving on, or anything else about the Dungeons and Raids?
No, I think they just got it. It's sounding like where it needs to be at the moment.
Absolutely. So now we're going to talk about some PvP. We're going to talk about where PvP
You're going to talk about some PvP.
So they've gone through two other, iterations of the honor system since it came out. So the original one where you had all the ranks and you were you're fighting each week to be #1, and you're getting different titles for how much honor you got each week. Well, that didn't last very long. That lasted up to the Burning Crusade, because you would basically have to be playing non-stop if you wanted to be the best, getting the best gear. You'd have to be PvPing, doing Battlegrounds all the time. So then they came out with System 2, which has lasted up until now. Just doing Battlegrounds to get your gear, stuff like that. Now, the current honor system that uses currency is better, but the currency, you earn currency and buy gear. It allowed for a creation of set bonuses to help tune PvP a little bit. So it was helpful in that way, but when you got to where we are right now, like say I wanted to queue up and do some PvP with my DK, who has no PvP gear whatsoever, it's not going to be enjoyable. I'm not going to be able to do anything. People will be able to one-shot me. And that's just not very fun PvP when you look at a lot of other PvP games like Call of Duty, for instance, which this new system's kind of taking a huge bit out of.
Yeah.
But you look at games like that, and yes, there's progression, and you can get better stuff. You're not immediately screwed if you're a new player. So gear being a huge factor in PvP doesn't feel good. So they're dialing that back, and this is causing controversy with a lot of people. But here, I'm just going to read this out to you. The new system is similar to a PvP talent system. As you gain honor, you progress through the ranks from 1 to 50. That's right, you are separately leveling your PvP statistics. Each rank gives you new perks, bonuses, as well as new talents. The PvP talents allow the team to balance PvP independently of PvE. These abilities will only work in battlegrounds and arenas, and you unlock them down a column, and then you start on the next column, so that you quickly unlock at least one option for each row. Then further ranks give you more options to choose from. Everything is unlocked at rank 50. So this, in my opinion, is amazing for PvP balance. This allows the designers, or the balancers, whatever you call them, to go in and add skills that don't even make sense for PvE. Like the ones where you can like stop healing on someone else, like Scourge Strike. They're bringing back Scourge Strike, DKs. Raise your fists.
Or run away in my case.
But this is great for PvP, because it's going to bring back a lot of abilities that were pruned and people were upset about, adding in new abilities, all of this, and just allowing PvP to be way more balanced than it has been before. So it's all going to be about leveling up your character instead of gearing up your character, which it makes sense. You have to still have to progress, but you're not going to be immediately screwed just because of an item level when you start PvP. And one of the biggest things about this, then once you hit rank 50, you can prestige. Yes, they're taking a huge takeaway from Call of Duty here. A huge gamble, yes. By allowing you to prestige. It's a very interesting concept that they're adding into the game, but prestiging gives you a nice little badge next to your nameplate to show how many times you have prestiged, and you can do it, I can't remember how many times you can actually prestige, but it resets your honor rank back to 1, but you get to do it multiple times for cosmetic rewards. So prestiging doesn't actually make you a better player. Well, it might, because you're willing to go through that so many times, but it's not going to get you better skills, better weapons, or anything like that. But it will get you better effects for your artifact weapon, for example, or better transmog sets, stuff like that. So there's going to
couple unique mounts as well.
Unique mounts for getting the top prestige. So I think that's awesome. It gives you a reason to keep just doing battlegrounds, for instance, once you've gotten max 50. You can keep doing it, and I think this is going to make PvP fun, for a long time rather than just Ashran.
It just means you never really stop sort of grinding in PvP. I think that's the thing, that because you could cap.
You can if you want to, and you can if you want to.
And you can. You don't have to prestige. You can go to that level 50 and say, right, enough's enough. But you're cutting yourself out of a lot of bonuses, and especially if you think about it, you're probably smashing people anyway. So if you got to level 50, you're probably quite good at PvP. So why not just reset it and get a load of bonuses while you work your way back up again? You're not losing anything. And I think, again, it's prestige. There's a prestige in having those prestige ranks, you know, getting that recognition, showing off that you are literally the king of PvP.
Right.
That's going to have an attraction for a lot of people. And yeah, if you want to stay 50, stay 50. There's nothing wrong with that. But there will be people who go further than you. And that's what they're keen to say.
And I'm still a bit interested on how, like, because they haven't specifically said there's no PvP gear. They haven't specifically said that. They just said they're dialing it back. So it just makes me wonder how gearing in general is going to work this expansion. So if you don't raid at all, for example, you still have to be able to get gear. You're not going to just be wearing your questing gear. I mean, there has to be some kind of answer for that.
Because if your questing gear is the basis for your PvP armor, if you basically walk in and that is the armor you're using, then that provides another sort of weight on player productivity. Because yeah, you're equally, you know, working your way through the 50 ranks and the prestige ranks, but some people are going to have worse gear because they've only just got there.
Yeah. So
that would be crazy because you've effectively leveled out the prestige ranks, but you've said, oh, by the way, you've just capped 110. So you're about to get thumped, boy, by the guy who's got like end raid tier content armor on him, and he's maxed out his artifact weapon. And if they do that, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's the thing. You know, we've also got to remember is that it doesn't. Do the artifact weapons still trigger their abilities?
Right.
Because you could have a max level artifact weapon and a guy who's just dinged 110, and he's going to get probably the crud pounded out of him pretty quickly. Especially if he's Death Knight.
Maybe they'll have a system where your gear gets balanced out like it does in challenge mode dungeons for PvP. Maybe they really don't want gear to be a factor. Maybe they want your skill as a player to be a factor instead. And just your PvP level be what matters. I think we'll get more clarification on this later. I mean, Brian Halinka, the head of PvP, wasn't even at the convention, so I mean, again, for a lot of stuff that we have speculation on, there's still a lot we don't know. We're going to be finding out in the next couple of months. So now, I mean, basically that we've covered this, we've basically covered the majority of what was announced. Now it's time for some speculation talk.
Right.
First off, let's just kind of talk about let's talk about release. What do you think?
Oh, the big question. Okay, so obviously they announced that they're very pleased that the beta will be coming out later this year. The good old corporate language, this year, which is...
They didn't just say soon, they said this year. It's crazy. Oh, did we lose you again, Britzza? Uh-oh. Why does his face keep pausing at hilarious moments? We'll get him back. I promise. He'll be back. He'll be back. Go ahead and stop that there. Hello.
I survived once again.
Welcome back.
Big apologies, people. It's post Windows 10 blurb. So.
All right. So back. When do you think it's launching?
Yeah, as I was saying before Blizzard tried to shut me down. As we said, the big thing that they said was that the beta's coming out later this year, and it's big corporate talk. It could be any time. There could be tomorrow. It could be obviously the 31st of December. I think beta's going to come out around BlizzCon, and I think launch is going to come out March.
Yep, that's actually pretty much hit the nail on the head of what I was thinking as well. I think it's optimistic to say that this expansion's coming out this year.
No.
It's possible, but very unlikely. Because we definitely don't want this to be rushed, but at the same time, we know that Warlords has been being worked on by a skeleton crew in order for this expansion to be made, so there's obviously quite a bit of progress if they are confident enough to say that beta is coming this year.
Yeah. And there's other factors as well.
Oh, you're frozen again. No, Britzza, no! Come back. Come back to us, Britzza. Well, we've lost him again. But yes, I think it's very... It would be very optimistic to think that the game's coming out this year, so I definitely don't think it's coming out this year, but... yeah, definitely by March at the latest. I could even see January. January could be a launch date for it, so... just technical difficulties all around today. There you are. Welcome back.
We'll go no webcam. We're gonna go bare bones podcast.
Bare bones for the rest of it. All right.
I'll go bare bones. The thing that I was saying very quickly. Yeah, we March release, and I think the fact that they haven't quite finished the full cinematic.
Yeah.
That there's still a lot of things they're piecing together. It worries me. That they're not in a position to release this year. And Blizzard said, and they've always been a company that has always said we won't release a game till we're finished. They usually stuck to that. And then Warlords happened. I think if anything, Warlords will make them more cautious.
Yeah.
And I think going from there, it was going to be a bit of a tough one to bring it out before 2016. But saying that, you think also I haven't looked at this myself, but I think it's also probably worth considering what the launch dates are for other franchises, because it won't want it competing. Like when StarCraft Legacy of the Void coming out,
that'll be this year for sure.
Exactly.
Probably
so
probably right after BlizzCon, I would say for that. I'd also say Overwatch is going to hit beta right around BlizzCon, if not before. Actually, I had it suggested like closed beta like September or even like later this month for Overwatch, and then open beta by BlizzCon, but we'll see.
Yep, I agree. And the thing is, they just won't want it competing with things.
Right. And Diablo's probably going to get some... I wouldn't be surprised if Diablo gets a second expansion announcement at BlizzCon, but nothing coming out for it anytime soon.
And think also about Overwatch. When's Overwatch going to be released?
I think that could go the way of like Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm. It could be in beta for a long time, but I think they'll have like either open beta or pay to enter beta, kind of a thing. So, yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's worth considering. But yeah, I think we're probably both on a good track to say March.
Yep.
Question is, can the player base hold out too much? Because of course you've got another. Well, you're going to have Q1.
Yeah.
Q4 of this year.
Q3 and 4.
Q3 and 4, yeah. So you'll have the subscriber announcements for those two in Warlord content.
I think the hype train will bring people back.
I think it'll bring people back, but I think the fact that we've got, a wait ahead of us means expect the numbers to keep falling for a bit.
I think we should get patch 7.0 and launch event this year. I think that's something that should happen.
Really? Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
I think March is even late from my expectation. I was almost thinking actually January, February.
If it can, brilliant. I'd love to. Because the thing is, they tend to carefully place the expansion releases so that everyone hypes, jumps on. You get that 10 mil subscribe, and then they can announce those subscribers as part of the queue. So you tend to get it just before a queue announcement, so that they can say we've done absolutely amazing with this expansion. Otherwise, they announce some really low subscribers, and you have to wait 3 months to find out how the new expansion did.
Right.
So yeah, maybe they might push it and say, well, actually, let's get it on Q1 before anything else.
But I'm just thinking more of a content perspective. Blizzard knows that people don't like 6.2. It obviously didn't bring enough people back. It didn't bring anybody back. They lost people. So they know they can't sit on that for too long. So I'm not saying they're going to rush it out, but I think they're going to try to get it out as soon as they can. And if anything, they need to push some other content to out, like either 6.3 or 7.0, something. Get something to the players before we
Emerald Sanctum.
Just anything before we've been in this patch for too long.
Yeah, and I mean we've got the flying patch, for what it's worth. I'm sure everyone will love flying about for 4 months because that's going to keep us entertained.
Well, it's just getting flying is going to take a while. Having to do Lore Master.
Exactly, and I think it's going to be a strange.
That brings me on to another point of speculation.
Of course.
I think we're going to get flying this expansion right off the bat. I think 7.0.5 when the expansion comes out, and when we hit level 110, we'll be able to fly. Maybe have to do a quest or something, but I don't think it's going to be anything like Warlords, especially with Dalaran being the capital.
I hate to burst your bubble.
Oh, did they say no flying?
Eventually, you'll be able to fly in Legion. This was in the Q&A. Right away, similar to Warlords. Starting in patch 7.0, the first steps towards flying achievement will be available. I think that's the thing. You're going to see that every time. I think you will not. You will see flying during these lulls between expansions, and that's about it. They don't like flying. I'll be honest. I just might as well be honest. Blizzard don't want players flying.
I mean, when you go through and you look at the pictures of all the zones and stuff, you can see why. This territory it's beautiful. It's better looking than Draenor, people. It's amazing, but still, I kind of miss flying. Illidan's
got wings, but he can't use them, so you can't either. You can double jump. That's about as high as you can get.
Well, that shot down my speculation right away. Thank you.
I'm getting this image of like a montage for the Demon Hunters, and they double jump with R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly" flitting in the background. It's a shame. It's a shame, but yeah, no flying for us.
No flying. All right, well, no flying. What about other speculations? Do you have anything else that you're just kind of guessing is going to be coming with this expansion that we don't have a confirmation of yet?
Not so. Right, first thing, I'm going to say, in respects to the announcement of Gen, Greymane, and Sylvanas having bigger parts, announced characters, for one, I'm going to be really boastful now. I'm going to say called that in Thought Bubble Thursday episode 1. I said Gen, Greymane needed a bigger story, and Sylvanas was bound to get one, and they got it. They're going to have bigger roles, and that's fantastic. But I guess the speculation is, obviously the little cinematic showed a rather grown-up Anduin.
Yeah.
And Varian looking, well, Varian doing what Varian does, looking a bit grumpy and what he wants to dismantle something with his bare hands, Hulk style. But I guess I wanted to get your view on, are we going to see bigger players in the Alliance and the Horde stepping up? Are we going to be able to see some really compelling stories coming out of Gen, out of Sylvanas, out of Anduin? Are we going to actually see Vol'jin step up as war chief? Because he hasn't yet. He hasn't done anything that I've really noticed. I don't think he even turned up in Warlords unless I mistook it massively.
He did in the Horde part with the shipyard. He's just like, "Hey, I've shown up to tell you, make ships. Okay, bye."
Okay, see you later.
It's like, okay, bye, Vol'jin.
Bye, Vol'jin. But I want to just get your opinion on who do you think are going to be the big characters in this expansion? Like,
I think Vol'jin and Varian will be very big, especially because they showed a picture of Varian. He's in the cinematic. I think Varian's going to play a huge role in this one. Like, maybe him or Anduin will die. I don't know, because I said a lot of people are going to die, I think. So maybe him. I don't know.
Who do you want to die?
I want Green Jesus to die. He needs to die.
He's had his time. He's got kids now. You know, he can move on. He's done his thing.
No, I definitely see some big characters coming out. I just think this one's going to be very story focused, just like Warlords was, but even more so. Even bigger story plots, even like bigger characters like Varian being very involved. Maybe we'll see more of like Tauren coming from the Horde side, because they've been very quiet ever since Cairn got killed. There's been like nothing from the Tauren.
One thing I definitely want to see is, and this is I think why it's also got a bit niffed people with Jaina, is that I want to see at least Sylvana step up as a really sort of dominant female character. I think it's getting a bit man heavy at the moment.
Well, we know her sister's coming back.
We know her sister's coming back, which is great.
Finally.
But yeah, and Maev is going to hopefully be in the background, and we know she's nuts. We always love a nuts night elf. But you know, I want to see some, you know, serious character development coming out, particularly on the female side, because you know, it's just very man heavy at the moment, and I think Blizzard, you know, was keen over a year ago, to step away from, you know, when they changed character models, they didn't want, you know, everyone looking like a supermodel on the girls' side and everyone looking buff. You know, I want to see that balance coming out, because we've got some really good development coming out from the guys. But it just seems, you know, jokes aside, you know, people say, oh, Jaina's gone PMT. It's like, oh, really? You know, is that your excuse, that she just gets a bit niffed and runs away? So we've got Sylvanas at least, and she's a bundle of laughs. Always good for a joke, I think. But I guess one last speculation is, what side do you think Illidan's going to fall on? Because apparently the Q&A confirmed that he's quite niffed about what we did to him in Black Temple, and you know, it's very hard to be someone's friend when you kind of stabbed them a few times with your mates.
I think he's going to side with the Legion. That's my prediction, but we'll see. What do you think?
I want to see a redemption story.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a redemption story where he dies. I'd like to see Illidan become part of and stay part of at least part of the current story. I think if, you know, you do the typical Darth Vader redemption story, where he comes at the last minute, does the killing blow, and then pops these clogs himself. Well, I don't think people are prepared to watch Illidan die. I think it was bad enough with Arthas, but you know, I want to see him come to our side, but in the right sense. And I don't really know what that is, but at the same time, we have got the Legion there, and he did work for the Legion quite a while. But who knows? You know, it could go either way. We could have Bolvar riding Deathwing through the Dark Portal, and you know, we could all have a great time.
So another bit of speculation I have is I think this expansion is going to be a two raid tier expansion again.
What, the two that they've announced?
No, like the 2 tiers, like just like this one was. I think they're going to do that again.
Yeah, no, that again, if this is all part of their wider strategy to have more regular expansions, and you know, if our prediction's right, they've gone from doing an expansion with a 2-year gap to a 1.5-year gap. So we're heading in the right direction. Then yeah, it would make more sense to cut a tier short. But I don't know. At the same time, look what happened at the end of Warlords. You know, they had this plan and they scrapped it at the last minute. And what worries me is they scrapped it in such a way that it now fits the current story. I mean, think about that. The fact is, they said, you know, they'd always planned for this Legion invasion to follow Warlords, but this is so, you know, knit together that it worries me, the fact that, you know, 4 months ago we thought we were going to fight Grom.
Right.
So how did Legion look when they were planning on us taking on Grom? And again, yeah, just I don't know how much of this they've actually prepared. So it looks.
I feel like they're a lot more prepared going into this one than they were going into Warlords. I mean,
they know what not to do.
Like, I think they've had this one in the pipeline for a long time. Like, kind of like that picture Zool sent us in case of Sublost break glass.
Yeah,
I think
picture Illidan.
I feel like they've been working on this at least since Warlords came out, if not before. And the fact that beta's coming this year, stuff like that, when they weren't even prepared to announce that at all when they announced Warlords, I don't think we're going to see a lot of stuff cut, because there was a whole year in between its announcement and then Warlords actually coming out. And I don't think that's the case this time.
That's a fair point. Yeah, it's good though. I think where we're sitting at now, there's a reason to be excited, but there's also a reason to be slightly cautious.
The content looks great, but you have to go at it with a grain of salt. We saw so much cut from Warlords, and Warlords ended up just being this bare bones expansion where the leveling was great, and then
there was nothing.
Right. So, but it all looks very good on paper. It looks fantastic on paper.
I think on paper it looks too good on paper, if anything. You know, I joked. I think I joked to Zool earlier in the week when we were recording Let's Talk Geekdom, and I said that this, considering the last or the current expansion, I should say, a part of me, a very small part of me, would be very surprised if Illidan even makes it into the expansion. So it's, you know, but they've got a point to prove. They're here to please the player base. They know what the stakes are, you know, with the subscriber loss, and like you say, they've got a great project on paper. So it's up to them to deliver, and I think they'll be cautious. I think they'll make sure the beta goes out earlier rather than later to get vote view, because it's better that it comes, you know, all that negativity comes out in the beta than it does post-launch.
And
you can't
it's good
the
that they need to listen to what people say during the beta.
Yeah, and you know, and if something doesn't work, follow it. You know, they've done really well. Well, I say they did really well. They fell back on their decision on flying because of things, you know, the community view, and I'd like to think, you know, if things like artifact weapons weren't working, that they would seriously consider having a different stab at it, rather than just trying to super glue broken pieces together and sell it for $40 or $60, you know. And that's the thing, you know, what's the price tag on this thing going to be?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
So
we can't pre-order it yet.
No, but admittedly, Battle.net did crash straight after the announcement, and I'm sure that's to do with people trying to sign up for the beta at least.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get in. We'll record some stuff when it comes out, and
I mean, this is going to be a very exciting few months. Definitely stay tuned to the show, because there's going to be new stuff every week, I'm sure, to talk about from here on out with them talking about Legion. So, and there was a dev Q&A today, like this morning, which I was, again, on an airplane this morning, so I didn't get a chance to see it, so we'll probably talk more about that next week, as well as whatever else gets talked about this week. So just, I guess, to briefly wrap it up, do you have any shout-outs this week, Britzza?
Shout-outs to people in the stream who are looking at my beautiful and quite cringeworthy Skype picture at the moment. Yeah, no, just shout out to everyone as well. I think it's you know, we've done milestones for birthdays of the show and things like that, and yeah, just I you know, thanks for supporting us as we start to look at the next expansion as well, and also to Twitter as well. There's a huge amount of people who started following us on Twitter lately, and yeah, that's really good. So thank you for following us and listening to the show.
Yep, thank you guys very much. And my personal shout out is to Illidan. Thank you so much for saving us. We'll look forward to hearing more from you.
It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
Also, the last point as well, how does that work with Illidan and Gul'dan having a conversation? Because Illidan was speaking to our Gul'dan's skull. So Now he's talking to the alternate version. I think this is going to be like a flux capacitor moment. Like they'll have a conversation, say hi to each other, and the universe will just have to explode.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy. And we'll see you all in there.
Yes, we will. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us on this special announcement week. Our show is always available on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and Twitch. You can check us on Twitter at Geeks of Azeroth. You can find me personally at Tarley_pause. Where can we find you, Britzza?
You find me at Britzza_EG.
And you can find our long-lost compadre Zool at ZoolGeek. And if you have anything you'd like to send to us, speculation about the next expansion, fan mail, hate mail, if you really want Zool back on the show, send all of that back to geeksofazerotheg@gmail.com. And remember to check out epicgeeks.co.uk for all the other content that we produce, like StarCraft videos, we have WildStar videos, and these guys have this really funny, awesome show about geekdom called Let's Talk Geekdom. You should definitely check that out on our website. Oh,
and Zool and I found a great way where I can actually play on US servers on everything but WoW. So we're planning on doing a hardcore seasonal Diablo Let's Play series.
Oh, please count me in on that. Please.
Yeah, no, it's guaranteed. So it will probably start towards the beginning of September. But we'll be doing things like that. Here is the Storm we'll get on as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, loads more.
All right. Well, everybody, remember, stay tuned to World of Warcraft's website because there's so much being talked about on there. And stay tuned for more Geeks of Azeroth. Same place, same time next week. Have a great week.